afternoon, everybody. As you've heard, I've stood for Parliament and for the European Parliament. For those of you who are interested, I stood on behalf of the Conservative Party, of which I'm still a member. And the reason why I didn't get elected to Parliament back in '97, I stood in Liverpool, which was an interesting experience. Anyway, first of all, Paul, thank you very much for inviting me to speak here today in Calne. It's an absolute honour to be sharing a platform once again with Caroline from Leave.eu and with Julia, your excellent member of the European Parliament. I've heard them both speak before, so I know you're in for a treat once I sit down. But may I say, first of all, that the one thing I knew about Calne before I got here was that this was for generations the centre of the Wiltshire ham industry. Now, I've got a real partial liking for ham, and I think it really gives the lie to one of the favourite cultural memes that we get from the Europhiles and those of us who think that we ought to be within the European Union. How many times have you heard people go on about how lovely the food is now that we're in the European Union, that we can get olives and Italian cooking and French recipes and all that? Well, standing here in Calne, the home of Wiltshire ham, all I can say to those people is, I'm very sorry your mother was such a bad cook. Anyway, the other thing I noticed when I came in here is that up there is a bust of Queen Victoria, who of course was the monarch when this magnificent town hall was built. Victoria, the great Queen Empress, who ruled over this country for so long. And I must say, I think that she would hold it in foul scorn that her United Kingdom, the United Kingdom that she and her ancestors laboured for generations to put together and to make into a great country, has been reduced to servitude, to be a vassal state of a continental empire, and that we have to spend millions of pounds in tribute across the water to Brussels every year. Money we could be spending here in Britain. Now, there are a great many reasons why Britain would be better off out of the European Union. Our seas have been pillaged by the European fishing fleets ever since we joined back in the early 1970s. Only last week I was down in Penzance and Newlyn in Cornwall talking to fishermen there. Caroline, I know, was up at Grimsby, once a great fishing port, but sadly no longer. And the terms of the Common Fisheries Policy were designed to transfer the fishing stocks from British ownership to European ownership. When we joined in 1973, British waters contained 80% of the fishing stocks of the European Union. We were allocated only 12% by value for our fishermen, and it has reduced since then. That is a scandal. If we left the European Union, we would gain control of our fishing stocks. We could halt the environmental damage that has been done to our marine environment since. Our farmers, and I know this is a great farming county here in Wiltshire, many of our farmers have been reduced to being subsidy junkies, filling in the forms, planting the crops that the European bureaucrats want them to grow, when in fact they could be successful businessmen growing the crops that the people want, that the market needs, and not being such a burden on the taxpayer. Our pensioners shiver in cold houses because European Union policies have put up the price of energy. Do you remember the lefties always used to go on about fuel poverty and how awful the Conservative government was introducing VAT on fuel? We hear it no longer because now it is the European Union which is pricing pensioners into coldness. And so the lefties and the lovies don't go on about it anymore because they don't want to criticise the European Union. Our democracy has been destroyed. Back in the days of Queen Victoria there, when this hall was built and when Calne was a constituency in its own right, we the people elected members of Parliament who went to Parliament and they made the laws by which we were governed. Now we elect parliamentarians who go to Parliament, or in Julia's case, go out to Brussels. They debate, they vote, they talk, but increasingly the laws are made by unelected bureaucrats that we cannot get rid of if we do not like what they do. And did you vote for that European Commission? I didn't. And how can we get rid of them? We can't vote them out, we can't throw them out, we are chained to them, and there is nothing that we can do about it. Estimates may vary, I know, but I think everybody agrees that more than half the laws that are made in Britain today are made over in Brussels by that unelected European Commission. Now, David Cameron...
75%.
75%?
Yes.
Your estimate's bigger than mine, sir. David Cameron and other governments counter that by talking about influence, that we're at the top table, that we have influence. Well, I looked it up. Over the past 10 years, the British government has voted against 85 proposals in the European Council. Of those 85 proposals were voted through by our partners and became law, although the British government had opposed them. So that's what influence amounts to. Played 85, lost 85. And then David Cameron tried to stop Jean-Paul Juncker from becoming president of the European Commission. He did his shuttle diplomacy, going around the capitals of Europe to stop Juncker being appointed, just as today he is shuttling around the European capitals trying to do his renegotiation of our terms of membership. What happened then? Juncker became the Commission President, despite Cameron's very best efforts. Played 86, lost 86. But that's not the end of it. UK politicians today very often don't even try. They know they're going to be outvoted in Brussels. They know that they will go to the European Council and they will lose the vote. You could reel off the list of issues they don't even bother raising. Quotas on cod, quotas on haddock, what's called the tampon tax. It goes on and on and on. No matter what is debated in Westminster, no matter what the MPs vote on, when the ministers get out to Brussels, they don't even try because they know that they're going to lose. But at long last, we the people are going to have a say in all of this. We the people are going to be able to vote in a referendum whenever it comes. And when Britain does vote to leave the European Union, as I fervently hope that we do, we will regain our sovereignty. Now, that's a nice word, and people have batted it about. What it means is that it will be we, the British people, who decide what is right for we, the British people. We can decide our own agricultural policy. We can decide if prisoners get to vote. We can decide to spend more on the armed forces if we wish to do so. We can decide to establish free trade agreements with China, India, Canada, the United States of America. Iceland is a tiny country. It has already negotiated free trade deals with all those large markets for its goods. We haven't, because we cannot establish a trade agreement. We can only do what the European Union tells us to do. We are held back. And the European Union is a shrinking market. It is inward looking, it is backwards looking. Over the past 20 years, the share of global GDP of the European Union has shrunk from 23% to 15%. We are shackled to a dying market, but we could be free to look for trade elsewhere. It is time for Britain to regain its power on the world stage. Already, we have a permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council. Already, we are a major player in NATO. But if we left the European Union, we would automatically, by virtue of the size of our economy, qualify to have our own independent seat on the World Trade Organization. By the size of our fishing grounds, we would automatically qualify to have a seat on the World Fishing Organization. I could go on, but there are many, many international bodies from which we are currently excluded because we are a member of the European Union, but to which we would automatically gain a seat were we to live. Outside of the European Union, we would have power. Outside of the European Union, we really would have influence, not the sham pretend influence that David Cameron and his cohorts go on about so often today.
Here!
But you are right, sir, it is a prize worth getting. But I'm under no illusions, and And I don't want you to be under any illusions that it's going to be easy to get. In this referendum campaign, we are up against powerful vested interests. We are up against what one could loosely term the establishment of this country. We know that the government is already gearing up to use its resources to press for campaigning on the Remain side in the referendum. We have already seen them in action. You will have heard the comment that 3 million British jobs depend on our membership of the European Union. That is rubbish.
Correct.
3 million British jobs depend on trade with the European Union, and that is a very different thing. Iceland trades with the European Union. Botswana trades with the European Union. Neither of them are members of the European Union. And have you heard that Britain will be isolated? Have you heard our security will be at risk? It is all absolute nonsense. And already the European Commission is allocating funds, and I'm sure Julia can go into greater detail, I can't remember the figures, but I know they're allocating funds for what they euphemistically term information campaigns. They spent millions in Ireland when they were having a referendum, millions in Denmark when they were having a referendum, and they will be spending millions in this country in the run-up to our referendum. They will be wheeling out all sorts of supposedly independent spokesmen to give their views. There will be the CBI, and there will be the BBC, there will be Tony Blair. All of them posing as being independent, but all of them, as we know, taking money from the European Union and bought and paid for by the Remain cause. But powerful as they may be, those people are vulnerable. They are vulnerable because we have the angels on our side. We have truth on our side. We have history on our side. And we have Julia Reid on our side. And we have Leave.eu on our side as well. And now we've also got Michael Calne on our side. And there's not many people know that. That is why we can win this referendum. That is why I believe we will win this referendum. And I'm going to tell you how. I'm here to represent Better Off Out. On the table down here, I've put along a whole stack of campaigning materials. There were leaflets put out on your chairs when you arrived. I've got hundreds of them here. I've got beer mats, I've got posters, I've got booklets, I've got everything. And you know, I don't want to take any of it back to the office. When we finish today, please come up to the front, take a handful of leaflets, take a book, take some beer mats, go home and use them in your area, just deliver them in your street, deliver them around where you live, to let other people know the truth about the European Union. Over the coming months, we're going to be producing different leaflets, different campaign themes, different beer mats, different posters. You can also sign up, there's a sign-up sheet. If you give us your name and email address, I'll be in touch about how you can help the campaign to take Britain out of the European Union. And here in Wiltshire, we are proud to be able to work with your elected representatives, with councillors, with activists, with anybody who is willing to work alongside us to take Britain out of the European Union. Now, as I speak to you today, the Electoral Commission has not yet issued its guidance on exactly how the election is going to be taking place. There's a lot of technical matters. Is it going to be counted by constituency? Will it be counted by local council area? That sort of thing. David Cameron hasn't given us the date for the referendum. There's a lot of talk about it being June. That talk seems to be receding. Perhaps it will be later this year. It might even run into next year, I'm not sure. What I do know is that all the Eurosceptic groups are working together to achieve a leave vote. ourselves, the Bruges Group, Campaign for an Independent Britain, Leave.eu, Vote Leave, UKIP, we all meet with each other, we all discuss things, we all work together. Once the Electoral Commission pulls its finger out, we know exactly what the terms are. I'm absolutely sure there will be a single unified campaign. We have already said we will work with whoever gets what is formerly known as designation. And once that happens, I can assure you that the leaflets and booklets and beer mats and posters I brought along today are going to be joined by millions more. And we are going to be relying on good, solid, patriotic people like yourselves to take the campaign out into the country to convince the public that they should vote to leave. And when they vote to leave, Britain will once again become the proud, free, independent and democratic country it was when Queen Victoria was our monarch. Thank you very much.